Joining me now by phone, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Congressman, welcome. You issued a statement after hearing what the president said to Hallie about Russia. Why don't you explain your disagreement or your fact-checking of the president in this regard?
Well, it is so distressing to hear the president yet again cast question on who is responsible for hacking our democratic institutions, publishing stolen emails, when our intelligence community is quite emphatic, and I think with ample evidence, that there's no question about this, that this was not only Russia, but Russia acting on the orders of Vladimir Putin, the man the president is about to meet. So for the President of the United States to essentially toe the Kremlin line that nobody knows for sure who is responsible for the hacking, it doesn't put America first at all. It represents a complete capitulation to the Kremlin's point of view, and deeply inimical to our national interests.
Here he's questioning whether there are 17 intelligence agencies. There are 16 intelligence agencies reporting to the Director of National Intelligence, so that's the 17th. The statement that came out on October 7th was made in the names of Jeh Johnson and General Clapper, the FBI, rather Homeland Security, and the DNI. So is there any doubt among you and your Republican colleagues, Congressman Conaway on your committee, the Intel Committee on the Senate side? I haven't heard any dissent from any of the leaders that this is the case.
There's no doubt about this at all. And, there's not a single intelligence agency that disputes that conclusion that Director Clapper and others reached about the Russian involvement. So this isn't based on any evidence. And for him also to go on and disparage the intelligence community, because, again, he brought up, well, the intelligence community got Iraq's WMD wrong, so how can we trust them on the Russia hack? This just further undermines not only his credibility, but that of our own intelligence agencies. And in the same breath, he talks about what North Korea is doing based on what our intelligence agencies are telling us. And should there come a day where we need to take action based on either what North Korea does or Iran, the president is going to have to rely on our intelligence agencies and ask the rest of the world to rely on them. And to impeach them in this way makes his own future success that much more in doubt. So deeply destructive at so many levels. I think the only real common denominator between his speech and his critical comments about Russia destabilizing Ukraine and elsewhere, and the comments he's making that are so pro-Kremlin, is this is all about Donald Trump and what's in his personal interest, not what's in the country's interest. And that is not a quality you want to see in a commander-in-chief. And
briefly, what if in his meeting with Vladimir Putin, he does not mention the Russian hacking, doesn't call him out on it, glosses over it, perhaps? What's the impact?
Well, I think that Putin will realize that this president lacks the courage to stand up to him. And in that sense, the Kremlin regime can engage in further election hacks, not only in the United States, but in Europe, and that this president will not stand up to him. And that would be deeply destructive because, of course, what Putin is trying to do is not only take down American democracy, but take down the whole idea of liberal democracy. And if the president is not going to be the leader of the free world and champion human rights and democratic governance, then who is? So there's nothing I think the Kremlin would like to see more than a president who will settle for a grip and a grin and walk away saying that he had this fabulous meeting with the Kremlin autocrat.
Adam Schiff, thank you so much for joining us from California.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.